Yo, what's going on YouTube? And welcome to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and today we're going to be taking a look at the New York Rangers as they made a pair of signings over the past couple of days, signing Alexander Georgiev as well as right shot defenseman Tony Deangelo. We'll be taking a look at those in this video. If you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe down below. Now let's take a look at the Broadway Blue shirts. Alright, so before we get too far into this video, as usual, want to give a quick plug to our Instagram as well as our Twitter handles at goalline_hockey. Links will be in the description down below. Alright, so with that out of the way, let's head up to Manhattan to take a look at the New York Rangers, who've had a pretty nice offseason, but the questions after drafting Alexis Lafreniere have been, what are they going to do with Tony Deangelo and Alexander Georgiev? We've heard rumors that Georgiev might get traded at last year's trade deadline. That never happened. They decided to let go of Henrik Lundqvist. And Tony Deangelo, a lot of you in the comment section were saying trade Deangelo. He's not good, this and that. And then there were plenty of you that said keep Tony Deangelo and find a way to keep him on a contract and see how things go. Well, the Rangers have addressed both those issues, signing both of those players. We'll be looking at that in this video. So both these guys, they're 24 years old. We're going to start things off looking at the right shot defenseman, Tony Deangelo. Tony Deangelo signs a 2-year, $9.6 million contract that comes in at $4.8 per season on the cap for the New York Rangers. This is a great signing for Tony Deangelo. I think it favors him a little more than the New York Rangers, and I'll tell you why. Now, the reason is he's 24 years old right now. So he's got 2 years on that contract. He'll be 26 at the conclusion of that contract. Now, I'm not sure exactly his age. If he will be 27 at the conclusion of that deal, it's even better because at that point, he's considered an unrestricted free agent, a UFA, which means he will be able to go into the open market. He is not restricted like he has been with the New York Rangers unless the Rangers let him go. But if he's 27, then he will be able to test the open waters. And if he's still with the New York Rangers at that point, or whatever team he's with, he will have leverage over that team to maybe push the issue before they decide on what other players they are going to bring in. So that's a huge thing for Tony Deangelo. He has another 2 solid years with the Rangers. He plays top minutes on that Rangers pairing as the young blue line continues to develop there in New York. Tony Deangelo could get another pretty solid payday when he's 27 years old, going right into his prime. That could be huge for Tony Deangelo. And you know what? It's a win for the New York Rangers because they get a win here because, all right, you've got him for 2 more years, so you're trying to win now that you've got Alexis Lafreniere, Capo Caco, Artemi Panarin, Mika Zibanejad. Do I have to list off everybody on that Rangers group? So, now you've got Deangelo there. The Rangers are in a window now where they can win. And you know what? If Deangelo leaves in 2 years, it may not mean anything for the New York Rangers. You've got Robertson coming up, Lundqvist coming up, as well as a couple of other guys that they've recently drafted. Braden Schneider, who we just saw they drafted this year. So the New York Rangers, it's not going to be that big of a loss. If they lose Tony Deangelo in 2 years from now, it really won't mean all that much to them. So I think that's a fair deal. He had 53 points last season in 68 games with the New York Rangers. That's the most points of any of the RFA defensemen we saw on this year's market. So he has set the market. He has 105 points in his 200 games in the NHL. Pretty solid numbers for Tony Deangelo, a defenseman, let alone. This is numbers that you see from forwards. You don't usually see that from defensemen, but Tony Deangelo, a very offensive defenseman, and he definitely shows that with this deal with the Rangers. Now looking at Alexander Georgiev, also 24 years old. He signs a 2-year, $4.85 million contract that comes in around 2.4 per season for Georgiev. A pretty solid number for both sides. Again, Georgiev is in the same situation as Deangelo. He's in a win-win because he's continuing to play in an organization where they could probably win a little bit. And then worst case, in 2 years from now, if the Rangers have somebody else or they don't want to give him more money, he could become a starter at 26, 27 years old across the NHL. And he could go into the free agency market and see what he can get. And the only issue, though, with Georgiev is his numbers were a little bit interesting. He was a little bit Jekyll and Hyde this season. He would have 3 shutouts in a month, and then he would just completely tank the next month. We just saw that with Georgiev, a little bit inconsistent. He had a 304 goals against average last season and a 910 save percentage, which is pretty solid for the young goaltender. He's been with the Rangers for a little while now. He's continuing to get that experience. He'll be under Igor Shesterkin next season as the starting goaltending tandem for the New York Rangers. And Igor Shesterkin and Alexander Georgiev, now that Henrik Lundqvist is gone, it makes things a little bit easier there for Georgiev. He has that stability, and now the Rangers they look pretty solid. I mean, you've got your group set up. You look at the Rangers combination, their line combinations going into next year, it's hard to argue the Rangers can't make the playoffs. Now, it's a very competitive Metropolitan Division in particular, but that entire Eastern Conference is going to get more competitive in general because we're going to see Buffalo really start to rise. The Montreal Canadiens really start to get things going. Not that the Ottawa Senators are going to make the playoffs, but they're going to start to be in that conversation again. And you know what? The Columbus Blue Jackets, I mean, they're for real. The Philadelphia Flyers, the Islanders, they're all legit teams. So the Rangers have a lot to compete with. But looking at the Rangers, you know, their lineups, you've got Kreider, Zibanejad, and Buchnevich on that top pair. Then you've got Panarin, Strome, and Capo Caco. And then you've got Alexis Lafreniere, Hedl, and Gauthier, the young guns line, I'm going to call it, for the New York Rangers. Then you've got Phil DiGiuseppe, Brett Howden, and Brendan Lemieux in that bottom six. And then your defense, I mean, the Rangers' defense, this is pretty solid. Now, I don't like Jack Johnson in the mix, but you've got Ryan Lindgren, Adam Fox, Jacob Trouba, Brendan Smith, yeah, I know, we'll forget we ever said that, Jack Johnson, and Tony Deangelo. So, yes, Brendan Smith and Jack Johnson, I would say, are not the best defensemen for the Rangers. But let's be honest, next season, that's not really a concern for the Rangers because, like I said, they've got Matt Robertson. They've got, what's his name? The guy they just drafted this year in the first round, as well as Nils Lundqvist, who should be ready possibly even this season. So, you know, the New York Rangers, their defense looks a little bit skewed here and there, but the right side is really solid. They've got Fox, Trouba, and Deangelo on that right side, and Ryan Lindgren, he's a pretty solid defenseman as well. So let me know in the comment section down below, Rangers fans, what do you think of the Rangers going into this season? Do you think they're ready to make the playoffs? We saw them get close last year in the playoff bubble, just weren't able to beat the Carolina Hurricanes, but obviously there were some flaws with this Rangers team. They had Alexis Lafreniere. I don't see how this team, especially with that forward core they have, how they missed the playoffs. But we'll see what happens. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think of that? And if you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe down below. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.